a very warm welcome to you. One is so glad you have found your way to this quiet corner, a small sanctuary set aside for rest and gentle thought. This story was created with the simple hope of providing a peaceful companion for the evening to help the world outside feel a little further away and allow sleep to arrive as a soft and welcome friend. If you find comfort in our time together, a simple like, a subscription, or a kind comment is always deeply appreciated. Tonight, we will be visiting the Vale of Lingering Dusk, a hidden place of profound calm. Step onto its soft chalk path where every footstep is hushed and breathe in the sweet scent of the dusk rose. Here in the Vale, we will watch the light say its long, gentle goodbye, finding deep respite and a quiet stillness in its beautiful, unending twilight. Chapter 1. The Chalk Path to Stillness. It is a wonderful thing, one thinks, to find the beginning of a quiet path. Oren stood at the threshold of the valley where the air itself seemed to change its mind, letting go of the day's hurried thoughts. The sunlight of the common world lay behind, a bright and busy memory, and ahead lay a gentle descent into a world hushed and softened at its edges. The path was made of a pale, powdery chalk, so smooth and compacted that it felt like walking on packed flour, a texture that promised to soften every footfall. The air that rose to meet them was cool, carrying the first delicate whispers of night-blooming jasmine, a sweet and gentle perfume that spoke of peace. The simple act of placing one foot in front of the other on this pale ribbon of the path was a meditation in itself. The chalky ground seemed to absorb not only the sound of Oren's boots, but the very intention of hurry, leaving only a slow and measured cadence. Each step felt lighter than the last, as if a weight they had not known they were carrying was being gently lifted, dissolving into the quiet air. The world was painted in muted greens and deep shadowy blues, the colors of rest. The rustle of Oren's own travel cloak was the loudest sound, a soft shushing of wool that seemed to be in gentle conversation with the sighing of the silver birch leaves overhead. As the path curved downwards, the sounds of the outer world faded completely, not ending abruptly, but unraveling slowly like a thread being gently pulled from a tapestry. The distant bleating of sheep was the first to go, followed by the chirping of sparrows, until all that remained was the valley's own soft voice. It was a sound one could feel as much as hear, a low and constant hum, the gentle resonance of stillness itself. This was the deep breath of the earth, a sound that felt ancient and reassuring, and Oren found their own breathing beginning to slow, matching its unhurried rhythm. The scent of damp, fertile soil rose from the ground, a clean and grounding perfume that spoke of life and deep, untroubled rest. Deeper within the vale, nestled in a small hollow, and looking as if it had grown from the earth itself, was a cottage. Its walls were of smooth, dark wood, warmed by countless afternoons of a sun that had long since passed, and its roof was a thick carpet of living moss, the same velvety green as the surrounding hills. A thin curl of smoke, the color of pearl gray, rose from its stone chimney, a silent, friendly welcome. The cottage door was a single solid plank of oak, its surface worn to a pleasant smoothness by time and gentle hands, and it opened with a quiet press, swinging inward without a sound. The air inside was a comfort, a wonderful and immediate embrace. It smelled of dried herbs, of lavender and chamomile, and the warm, papery scent of old books left to dream on their shelves. Dust motes danced in the soft shafts of twilight that fell from a clean window pane, each one a tiny glowing world drifting in the calm. A simple wooden table and chair stood by a hearth of cool, smooth river stones, and a bed piled high with soft, woolen blankets promised a deep and profound sleep. There was a palpable sense of peace in the room, a feeling that nothing had ever been rushed within these walls, and Oren felt a quiet sense of homecoming. Oren set down their pack, the soft thud of the leather on the wooden floor the only punctuation in the room's gentle silence. They walked to the window, its glass cool to the touch, and looked out into the deepening gloam. The valley was bathed in a light that was neither day nor night, a soft and lingering glow of lavender and pale gold. The world outside the window was perfectly still, the leaves unmoving, the air holding its breath in a state of perfect tranquility. Oren felt the last vestiges of their journey's weariness release in a long, slow exhalation, the breath leaving their lips as a faint silvery mist in the cool air. Here was a place where one could simply be. A small, well-used tinderbox and a stack of birch logs sat beside the hearth, a clear and kind invitation. Oren knelt on the smooth stone floor, its surface cool beneath their knees, and began to build a small fire. The scrape of the flint was a tiny scratching sound in the great quiet, followed by the soft whoosh as the spark caught the tinder. A tiny flame uncurled, a warm and living jewel of amber and orange, and it cast a gentle, dancing light across the room. The scent of wood smoke, clean and reassuring, began to fill the small space, adding another layer to the cottage's comforting atmosphere. Oren settled into the simple wooden chair, its surface smoothed and shaped by long use, and watched flames grow. The fire made a soft, crackling hum, a gentle song of warmth and contentment that seemed to fill every corner of the room. The flickering light painted the walls in shifting patterns of soft gold, making the shadows in the corners deepen and soften, as if they too were settling down for a long rest. A feeling of profound warmth spread through Oren's chest, a gentle weight that felt like safety and peace, and their eyelids began to feel heavy. Here, in the heart of the quiet, the day found its gentle and perfect ending. Chapter 2. The First Lingering Glow. One might suppose that morning in the valley would arrive with the sun, but that was not its way at all. Oren awoke not to a bright light, but to a subtle shift in the cottage's atmosphere, as if the quiet had simply become a shade lighter. The fire had burned down to a bed of glowing embers, their warmth a gentle and constant presence in the room. Pushing aside the heavy, soft wool of the blankets, Oren rose and went to the window. Outside, the world was steeped in the same gentle twilight as the evening before, a soft illumination that seemed to come from the air itself, a pearlescent glow with no discernible source. The long farewell of the sun, it seemed, was the valley's most cherished and constant state. Later, walking along the brook that wound through the valley floor, Oren began to truly understand the nature of the light. It did not stream or shine. It seemed to nestle into the landscape, to cling to surfaces with a soft and loving persistence. It pooled in the cups of broad leaves and soaked into the velvety moss, making it glow from within. Oren unrolled a sheet of thick, cream-colored parchment, its texture slightly rough under their fingertips, and took out a stick of soft, dark charcoal. They made the first mark, a long sweeping line to denote the gentle curve of the hill, the sound, a soft rasp on the paper, a whisper of creation in the profound quiet. This map would not be of ridges and rivers, but of the way the light chose to rest. It was during this gentle work that Oren first met Finn. He approached with such a quiet tread on the chalk path that he seemed to coalesce from the gentle mist that hovered over the brook. He was an older man, with a kind face and eyes the color of the deep, peaceful shadows under the trees. He offered no sudden greeting, simply standing nearby for a moment in shared comfortable silence, observing the way the lavender light caught the edge of a fern frond. His voice, when he finally spoke, was as soft as the air, a low and gentle murmur. He spoke of the light as if it were a living thing, a friend that came to visit for a very long time each day. Finn carried a small wicker basket from which he produced a clay flask, its surface cool and smooth to the touch, and 2 small ceramic cups. He poured a stream of pale golden liquid that filled the air with the warm, sweet scent of chamomile and honey, a wonderfully comforting aroma that seemed to make the very air feel warmer. Oren accepted a cup, its surface radiating a pleasant warmth into their cupped hands. They sat together on a large moss-covered log, the moss yielding and soft beneath them, and sipped the tea in a silence that was full of simple companionship. There was no need for questions, no need for stories of the outside world, for everything that mattered was here, in the taste of the warm tea and the sight of the light, deepening its hues of rose and gold on the horizon. Oren returned to the parchment, and Finn watched with a quiet, appreciative gaze. With the warm cup of tea resting beside them on the log, its steam rising in a gentle spiral, Oren began to add more detail to the map of light. They smudged the charcoal with their thumb to show where the glow was most diffuse, a soft haze that settled over the fields of long grass. They used the sharp edge of the stick to delineate the crisp yet soft line of light that rested upon the surface of the brook's stillest pools. It was a slow, peaceful process, each mark made with a steady hand and a quiet mind. The work was not a task, but a way of seeing, of becoming more deeply present in this tranquil place. As the hours passed, the light did not fade so much as it mellowed, the gold softening to a warm amber, the lavender deepening to a gentle violet. Oren watched, utterly absorbed, as the shadows stretched, becoming long, soft carpets of deep blue across the valley floor. They had never known a dusk to be so patient, so utterly unhurried. It was a revelation, the idea that an ending could be such a slow and beautiful ceremony. Finn, seeming to understand Oren's quiet wonder, pointed a gentle finger towards a single flower, a dusk rose, as its petals began to slowly, gracefully unfurl, releasing their sweet, calming fragrance into the still air. Oren felt a profound sense of peace settle over them, a quiet joy that hummed gently in their chest. The gentle weight of the warm tea in their stomach, the soft texture of the moss beneath them, the delicate scent of the flowers, and the mesmerizing sight of the endless twilight all wove together into a perfect moment of contentment. They realized their shoulders, which often carried a certain tension, felt soft and relaxed, and their breathing was deep and even, without any conscious effort. The valley was not just a place to be seen, it was a place to be felt, a gentle balm for a weary spirit. When it was time for Finn to leave, he did so with a simple, warm nod, melting back into the gloaming as quietly as he had arrived. He left behind the comforting scent of his pipe smoke, a sweet, woodsy aroma that lingered for a moment in the air before dissipating. Oren stayed for a while longer, watching as the first stars began to appear in the violet sky, their light not sharp or glittering, but soft and diffuse, as if seen through a thin veil of silk. With a heart full of a quiet, simple gratitude, Oren carefully rolled up the parchment, the map of the first lingering glow, and began the slow, peaceful walk back to the warm, waiting cottage. Chapter 3. Learning the Language of Gloam. The following days unfolded with the same gentle rhythm, each one a slow and beautiful lesson in the valley's quiet language. Oren learned that the true paths through the vale were not always the ones made of chalk, but were often illuminated by the valley's own soft magic. Following the brook one afternoon, Oren noticed a soft golden luminescence emanating from the trunk of a great ancient oak. It was the Gloam Moss, a thick, velvety carpet that seemed to breathe with its own inner light. The glow was not bright, but a warm and steady pulse, a slow and silent heartbeat that felt profoundly alive and peaceful. It cast a gentle, welcoming light in the deepest shadows of the woods. Reaching out a hand, Oren touched the moss. Its texture was wonderfully soft, like fine velvet, and it was warm, radiating a gentle heat that spread up from their fingertips into their palm, a deeply comforting sensation. Closing their eyes, Oren could feel the slow, steady rhythm of its light, a pulse that seemed to match the quiet thrum of the earth itself. It was a communication without words, a shared moment of simple living stillness. Oren understood then that this moss was the valley's own gentle lamplight, a guide to its quietest and most secret places, and they began to chart its glowing patterns on the map with a soft yellow pigment made from crushed wild flowers. Another of the valley's secrets revealed itself not to the eyes, but to the ears. Finn led Oren to a wide, calm bend in the brook where the bank was dotted with smooth, dark stones, almost perfectly round and cool to the touch. These, Finn murmured, were the Stillness Stones. He gestured for Oren to sit among them. As Oren settled onto the soft, grassy bank, a curious thing happened. The gentle sounds of the valley, the whisper of the water, and the rustle of the leaves began to soften, fading until they were almost gone. It was not an empty silence, but a profound and velvety quiet, a stillness so deep one could feel it as a gentle pressure, a comforting weight. Oren picked up one of the stones, its surface perfectly smooth and its weight satisfyingly solid in their hand. It felt cool and grounding. Holding it, the quiet seemed to deepen even further, and Oren's own thoughts became clear and calm, like the surface of a deep, untroubled pool. The stone seemed to absorb not just the ambient sound, but the internal chatter of the mind, leaving behind a state of pure, peaceful presence. Oren spent a long while there, simply breathing, feeling the gentle hum of the world through the soles of their feet and the smooth, solid reality of the stone in their hand. It was a quiet that healed, a stillness that restored. The scents of the valley also had their own language. The dusk rose Oren discovered changed its fragrance as the twilight wore on. In the early gloaming, it was a light, sweet scent, full of hope. As the violet hues of the sky deepened, its perfume grew richer, a comforting blend of vanilla and cool night air that encouraged a feeling of safety and repose. Oren would often pause their work simply to sit near a patch of these flowers, inhaling the gentle perfume. and feeling a wave of tranquility wash over them. The simple act of breathing became a source of deep and simple pleasure. Oren began to add these sensory details to the map, a project that had become a loving portrait of the Vale's gentle soul. They learned to make a faint, silvery ink from the dew collected on the petals of the dusk rose to mark the quietest places. They used a fine powder of ground stillness stone to shade the areas of deepest silence on the parchment, giving the map a texture that could be felt as well as seen. The map was becoming a guide, not just to the geography of the Vale, but to its heart, a chart for finding peace. Finn would often join Oren in these quiet explorations, sharing his deep and simple knowledge of the valley. He never instructed, but merely pointed, his presence a gentle encouragement to look and listen more deeply. He showed Oren how the current of the brook would carry fallen leaves in slow, hypnotic spirals, a dance of gentle release. He pointed out the nests of the vesper moths, tiny silken homes spun in the crooks of willow branches, their inhabitants waking only to flutter in the softest light. Every small detail was part of the valley's peaceful story. In the evenings, back in the cottage, Oren would work by the light of the fire and the gentle, pulsing glow of a small piece of Gloam Moss they kept in a clay bowl. The warmth of the hearth, the soft texture of the woolen blanket over their lap, and the clean scent of the burning birch logs created a perfect cocoon of contentment. The world outside the Vale felt like a dream, a half-forgotten story. Here, in the heart of the lingering dusk, surrounded by the gentle language of the gloam, Oren felt a profound and abiding sense of peace taking root within them. Chapter 4. Mapping the Heart of Dusk. The map had become Oren's quiet companion, a reflection of the peace that was steadily growing within them. The large sheet of parchment, once cream-colored and empty, was now a landscape of soft grays, gentle yellows, and pale violets, a tapestry of the valley's soul. The work was no longer about destination or completion. The process itself was the destination. Each morning, Oren would unroll the map on the smooth wooden table in the cottage, the sound of the paper a soft whisper, and decide which small piece of the valley's heart they would listen to that day. The feel of the charcoal stick, slightly gritty and solid between their fingers, was a familiar and grounding comfort. Oren spent an entire day charting a small, secluded meadow where the Gloam Moss grew in thick, swirling patterns that resembled the constellations of the night sky. They did not rush. They sat on the soft ground, the scent of damp earth rising around them, and simply watched for hours as the light within the moss pulsed. With a soft charcoal pencil, Oren traced the gentle rise and fall of the light, the lines on the map becoming less about geography and more about rhythm, a visual representation of a slow, sleeping breath. The world narrowed to this one peaceful task. The sound of the charcoal on the paper, the feeling of the cool air, the sight of the soft, living light. The pigments for the map were a source of gentle pleasure. Oren learned from Fenn how to create colors from the valley itself. They would gather the fallen petals of the dusk rose, their texture as soft as silk, and gently grind them in a stone bowl. The petals would release a beautiful, dusky purple powder, which, when mixed with a little water from the brook, created a soft paint. The scent of the roses would fill the cottage as they worked, a sweet and calming perfume. Using a brush made from a bird's found feather, Oren would paint the highest ridges of the valley on the map, the places where the last light of the day seemed to gather for its final, quiet rest. The focus required for this gentle work brought a new level of stillness to Oren's mind. The small, repetitive motions grinding the petals, mixing the color, the soft sweep of the brush on the parchment were profoundly meditative. Thoughts of past and future simply dissolved, leaving only the present moment in all its simple, gentle beauty. Oren's breathing would become slow and even, their shoulders would relax, and a feeling of warm, liquid peace would spread through their limbs. The map was charting a landscape, but the process of its creation was mapping a new interior world of calm within Oren. One afternoon, a gentle rain began to fall, a soft mist that made no sound as it landed on the mossy roof of the cottage. The world outside the window became a beautiful blur of soft greens and grays. Oren lit the fire and sat with the map, the light from the flames making the colors glow with a warm and gentle light. The air grew heavy with the clean, fresh scent of rain on dry earth, a deeply comforting and ancient smell. The only sounds were the soft crackle of the fire and the gentle drumming of Oren's own heart, beating in a slow, contented rhythm. There was nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, and the feeling was one of profound release. Fen stopped by, his cloak damp and dark from the rain, bringing with him the fresh scent of the wet woods. He carried a warm loaf of bread wrapped in a linen cloth, its crust still crisp, and its aroma wonderfully wholesome. They broke the bread together, the texture soft and yielding in their hands, and ate in comfortable silence, watching the rain blur the world outside. Fen's presence was a quiet comfort, a reminder that peace could be a shared experience, as simple as breaking bread in a warm, dry room while the rain fell gently outside. As Oren looked at the map, they saw it was no longer just a collection of lines and colors. It held the feeling of the valley within it. It held the velvet texture of the moss, the cool weight of the Stillness Stones, the sweet scent of the dusk rose, and the profound healing quiet of the rain. The map had become a vessel for tranquility. The act of its creation had been a journey inward, a slow and patient process of shedding the noise of the world and attuning to a deeper, gentler frequency. The rain eventually softened to a stop, and the air outside was left clean and glistening. A fresh, earthy scent rose from the newly washed world. Oren felt a similar sense of clarity within their own heart. The worries and thoughts that had once seemed so important had been washed away, leaving behind a simple, quiet contentment. The map lay on the table not as a finished product, but as a testament to the journey, a beautiful record of the slow and gentle process of finding stillness. Chapter 5. Carrying the Twilight Within. In the soft light of what felt like a permanent dawn, Oren looked upon the completed map. It lay unfurled on the wooden table, a world of gentle color and soft texture. It was more than a drawing. It was a sensory memory, a perfect echo of the valley's profound peace. Every swirl of charcoal held a memory of the pulsing Gloam Moss, and every wash of pale violet paint held the sweet, calming scent of the dusk rose. Running a hand gently over the parchment surface, Oren could almost feel the cool smoothness of a stillness stone, a tangible reminder of the deep quiet it offered. The map was finished, and with its completion came a feeling of peaceful and gentle satisfaction. A sense of deep, abiding calm had settled into Oren's very being, as if the gentle rhythms of the valley had retuned their own heart. The process of mindful observation, of sitting for hours just to watch the light soften, had quieted the busy inner world. The journey through the valley had also been a journey inward, and the peace Oren had found was not just in the landscape, but within themselves. The map was a beautiful reflection of the Vale, but the true chart had been drawn on the soul, a new pathway to an inner sanctuary of quietude. Finn arrived at the cottage that morning, his quiet presence as comforting as the warm air from the hearth. He looked at the map for a long time, his gentle eyes tracing the familiar paths of light and shadow that Oren had so lovingly recorded. A slow, warm smile spread across his face, a silent expression of understanding and approval. He did not see the map as an object to be possessed, but as a journey to be honored. He recognized that the map's true purpose had been fulfilled in its making. It was a testament to the art of paying gentle attention. As a parting gift, Finn offered Oren a single stillness stone, one that fit perfectly in the palm of a hand. Its surface was dark and flawlessly smooth, cool to the touch, and it held a comforting weight. "A little piece of the valley's quiet," he murmured, his voice soft as moss, "to hold when the world feels loud." Oren accepted the gift with a deep and silent gratitude, closing their fingers around the stone. Its familiar, solid presence was profoundly reassuring, a tangible connection to the peace they had found here. Preparing to leave was not a sad affair, but a quiet and gentle transition. Oren packed their few belongings, the familiar feel of the worn leather straps of their pack, a link to the journey that had brought them here and the one that lay ahead. They knew they were not leaving the peace of the valley behind. Like the Gloam Moss storing sunlight, Oren had absorbed the tranquility of this place, and it now lived within them as a gentle inner glow. The Vale of Lingering Dusk was no longer just a location on a map, but a feeling, a state of being they could carry with them. Standing once more on the chalk path at the valley's threshold, Oren turned for a final look. The vale lay below, serene and beautiful in its endless twilight, a perfect picture of rest. The air was still and sweet, and the gentle hum of the place was a soft farewell. Oren could feel the smooth, cool weight of the stillness stone in their pocket, a constant and gentle anchor. They felt no sense of loss, only a quiet thankfulness for the respite and the restoration they had been given. With a final slow breath of the valley's peaceful air, Oren turned and stepped back into the brighter light of the world outside. The sun felt different now, its warmth gentle rather than harsh, its light a friendly greeting. The sounds of the world returned, the birdsong and the rustle of wind in taller trees. But they no longer felt jarring. They were simply another kind of quiet. The gentle twilight of the vale now resided within Oren's heart, a place of profound calm they could return to with a simple, quiet thought. The map was rolled carefully in their pack, a reminder of the journey, and the stone was a solid presence in their pocket, a promise of the stillness they had learned to cultivate. The journey ahead was unknown, but Oren walked with a lighter step, their spirit as calm and clear as a pool of water in the heart of the lingering dusk.